In March 2000, these images became the human face of Mozambique's tragedy and survival when a young mother, Sofia Mabuyangu, gave birth to a baby girl in a tree. They called her Rosita. She's now 15 years old.
Cada vez que acontece as cheias, né? As pessoas de fora se lembram que em 2000 há uma menina que nasceu em cima de uma árvore.
Estás triste?
Não, me sinto um pouco emocionada.
Rosita became an instant celebrity. Politicians were fascinated by her story when, as a baby, she traveled to Washington, a trip that raised millions of dollars in aid for her country.
Baby Rosita brings a message of hope. But now it's up to the Congress to be the instruments of that hope.
But the spotlight on Rosita has since dimmed. The last few years have been exceptionally tough when her father, Salvador Mabuyangu, sold off the family's possessions.
O dinheiro bebeu. Ontem estava andando lá na rua, ficar no barraca a beber essa dinheiro. Depois voltou.
I've tracked Rosita's story since birth, but in the past few years I'd lost all contact. Tonight on Special Assignment, join me for this exclusive report as I go on a journey in search of Rosita Mabuyangu, 15 years on. Kiliman Airport in Mozambique will be our base for the next few days. It's from here that the SANDF will launch their flood relief aid into the Zambezi province north of the country. Veteran chopper pilot Bonnie Fourie is on his first mission to the flood-hit areas.
The flood damage was quite evident. You could see where the rivers, there was definitely a big flash flood, went through, swept through some of the villages. So you can see the way the grass, debris, everything, some of the bridges that's been washed away. Some people that has been, their house and possessions have been taken away. They don't have that anymore. So the devastation is quite clear. And there's nothing you can do about that, except to come and try and help where you can.
Today, we're distributing relief aid in the district of Mupaya, where thousands of people have gone without food and shelter for days. Authorities say the only way in is by chopper.
O desafio é realmente a gente conseguir diminuir o sofrimento destas pessoas.
The SANDF has played a major role in the Mozambican floods. In the past 15 years, they've saved hundreds of people and assisted thousands more. These images of baby Rosita minutes after birth turned the defense force into national heroes.
We didn't know that there was a woman that was giving birth on top of a tree. What happened is basically like we're moving everybody that was in the affected areas, and it so happened that when we got into that area with the paramedics, with the chopper and next to the trees, all that, it was not an easy operation to do, because now we have to try make sure that the blades and everything, they are not affecting the whole operation there, because the wind also was blowing with those blades, so it was not an easy operation, but whereby we have to be left in there and making sure that the paramedics and the doctors, they carry on with the work so that they destabilize the woman, and then we move her to the safer areas.
Rosita instantly became a global celebrity. Today her story forms part of Mozambique's school curriculum. I've covered several floods in Mozambique over the years. My first big assignment was as a reporter during the Mozambican floods in 2000.
Those calls have fallen on deaf ears. Now it's too late. They are trapped. The only way out is by boat. Frank Ferro, SABC, Inyana, Central Mozambique.
The INGC Centre appeared to have their work cut out for them. Frank Ferro, SABC News, Kaya, Mozambique. They will not be appealing to the international community just yet. Frank Ferro, SABC News, Shupanga, Mozambique. Safety is a crucial aspect of helicopter crews assisting communities in distress. On this particular day, the poor visibility makes this mission extremely dangerous.
Bad weather is never an aviator's friend. Even with a big chopper like this, we're well equipped, but once the visibility goes down, there's a lot of rain and water. Things do get tricky if you lose visibility with the ground, and in an area like this, there's not much navigational aids. So, yeah, it is a challenge. We have got weather radar, so we try and avoid the weather as much, but we have to fly through the weather at times, and it's difficult. It's a challenge at times, to be honest.
They drop us off in Mopaya, more than an hour away from base. We have very little time on the ground. We hitch a ride on a motorbike as we drive into the village to assess the situation. Our first stop is the medical center. The floods not only cause destruction, but also bring disease. Malaria is the leading killer of children, contributing to around 33% of all child deaths.
Obviously, the medical evacuations is priority one. So when we do get the information that something is happening in that line, then we shut down our delivery of food just for that period. So we tend to the medical evacuation, and then we continue back with normal work that we do here.
In a medical rescue mission, communication is key, but we found that at times the message can get blurred. On this trip to Namaroy, about 380 kilometers inland, we discovered that the patient had already been transported to a nearby hospital when we arrived.
The information flow is crucial in an operation like this, especially when you work in a country which is not known to the people flying here, especially the flying crew.
But in the end, all is not lost, as what was meant to be a trip to rescue a pregnant woman in distress turned into a food distribution operation. With all of us pitching in to help, authorities say more than 100,000 people are in dire need of food. Meanwhile in Mopaya, we meet Awek Fernando and his wife, 19-year-old Zita Antonio. The couple became parents for a second time a few days ago, but unlike Rosita's birth 15 years ago, this baby doesn't make the headlines. Awek explains that it was raining heavily on the day when they tried to cross the river in a canoe.
A hora que havia coisa ventania, coisa canoa, e a hora também que estava a minha mulher a sentir a coisa dela. Eu fui a chegarmos no coisa no meio, a ela também não sentiu bem, nasceu no coisa na água, no canoa.
Medic Stephen Araújo was on duty. I asked him in what conditions Zita and the baby's son were in when they arrived.
A mãe chegou numa aflição porque estava a chover e estava cheio de água no nosso recinto hospitalar. Então chegou 21 horas, ela bateu a porta e eu e a minha colega do serviço pegamos ela e fizemos na sala do quarto e fizemos os cuidados necessários.
In Mopaya, the future for these flood victims appears bleak. As some begin to rebuild their lives, others are making their way back from the flood zone, having got away with only the clothes on their backs, while authorities warn that more rains are imminent.
Estamos ainda na época chuvosa. É difícil dizer que daqui a uma semana vamos ter, porque ainda estamos na época, ainda vamos para o pico das chuvas.
Authorities say the floods are largely attributed to global warming and tropical cyclones, but there's more to this environmental phenomenon. They say floods are common because the country lies adjacent to large river basins and hundreds of tributaries that make up this vast landscape.
Nós também desenvolvemos durante o ano, fora daquilo que é o período de emergência, temos o papel de desenvolver, coordenar as ações multissetoriais que nos levam à redução da vulnerabilidade do nosso país, às cheias, aos ciclones, às secas.
We traveled to Shibutu, about 300 kilometers north of Maputo. Shibutu is where Rosita and her family settled after the floods in 2000. The trip is meant to take us about 4.5 hours, but the bad road conditions slowed down our journey considerably. It's 15 years later, and the destruction caused by the Mozambican floods in 2000 are still clearly visible, with more than 80% of the road washed away. As we drive on, we come across groups of children doing roadworks. They do this in the hope that passing motorists will reward them with some change. This taxi driver says the road was only opened about a week ago. Before that, you couldn't drive here because of the floods.
Há quanto tempo é que essa estrada está assim?
Essa? Ah, muito tempo. Desde aquelas cheias, foi quando? 2000.
In 2001, I met Salvador Maboyango, Rosita's dad. He showed me to his newly built home. He was living a life of comfort and privilege. All this because of the attention that Rosita's birth received when she was born in a tree.
Estamos a sofrer, sim. Porque eu não tenho gado, não tenho cabrito, não tenho nada. Mas agora já tenho cabrito, gato e casa também.
They were the only ones in the village that had electricity generated by solar panels and piped water. Salvador and his father Papa, who has since passed on, showed off their livestock. In Shibutu, this family were the talk of the town.
Nós temos ciúmes, porque muita gente às vezes pensa, eu também vou ter grávida, vou esperar das cheias para ir dar parto em cima de uma árvore. Há muita gente que pensa que talvez ir para lá no rio, esperar das cheias para ir ter bebê, para pelo menos eu ter uma casa oferecida pelo Estado.
In Maputo the next day, Rosita and her mother are on their way to the bank. She's accompanied by a self-appointed interpreter, Fatima. They don't have to queue like others. The teller takes Sophia's documents and index finger. In 2001, she received $600 American. At the time, it was 20 times more than Mozambique's minimum wage.
A Rosita estudar toda até acabar e ele também fazer uma pessoa que quer fazer ministro, quer fazer administradora, de escolher ele quando já está.
The years have passed. In Shibutu, I'm in search of Rosita's house. I'm amazed to see how much this village has grown since last I was here, more than a decade ago. This is how it looked back then in 2001, when I first met the family. In the process of searching for the house, I get lost.
Me viu onde tinha parado? Naquele quintal de Ganes.
Ok.
É ali mesmo.
Ok, porque já faz tempo, é. Vim cá uma vez, mas agora já há muito tempo, já esqueci.
Neste lado, depois daquele muro, então na segunda casa aí onde tem muro de Ganes.
We arrive unannounced. I'm surprised that after such a long time, Sophia still recognizes me.
Então, como é que a senhora está? Já faz tempo, hein? Ok, mano. Muito prazer. Novamente, ver você. Temos de volta depois de 15 anos para conversar.
There's a lot of catching up to do. I ask her where is Rosita. She tells me she now lives in Maputo. I'm disappointed not to find her at home. Sophia misses her child.
O que aconteceu com o Salvador?
Sim, tenho muita saudade mesmo.
Ela vem aqui frequente?
Sim, vem. Até dia 20 de dezembro estava aqui em casa com a madrinha dele, a padrinha dele.
As pessoas, o padrinho e a madrinha, quem são as pessoas? São boas pessoas?
Sim, são boas pessoas, porque ajudam meus filhos, outro. Até agora levou Célia. Célia também está lá com a Rosita.
Sophia tells me they've struggled ever since Salvador sold up the family's possessions. In 2007, a Mozambican court stripped Salvador of his parental powers when he was found guilty of selling off the family's assets, the hardest for Sofia was when she had to testify against her husband.
O processo foi bom, correu bem. Porque já agora com ele já não tem problema por causa do tribunal.
E ele perdeu a custódia da Rosita? Perdeu a custódia?
Sempre é o pai, mas já o comprometimento dele não vai bom.
She invites us to dinner, but we politely decline as the light is fading fast and we want to get back on the road before it gets dark. Sofia says she's happy we came to visit. She says we will meet Rosita in Maputo, where she now lives with her godparents.
Até ontem também falou com ele, disse, Rosita aqui em casa chegou a visita. Disse, tá bom, mas eu agora estou vivo em Maputo.
E então vamos poder encontrar com ela?
Sim, vai encontrar com, vou te dar o contato dele, de madrinha dele também.
In Maputo, we meet Ruth Varela and her husband, Sr. Paulo. They are the guardians of Rosita Mabuyangu. Ruth is one of the capital's top fashion designers. The couple are very protective of Rosita. Ruth says it's a huge responsibility having to take care of Mozambique's youngest celebrity.
Conversando muito com ela, falando muito com ela, e de quando em vez um pouco dura, porque é uma responsabilidade. É uma responsabilidade muito grande, porque o que eu pretendo que ela seja é que depois ela apareça para a sociedade e as pessoas ou o mundo questionem onde é que está aquela menina Rosita, dizerem uau, ela não se tornar uma decepção para o mundo.
In the first year of Rosita's life, Sofia traveled to the US capital, Washington, where members of Congress showed her off as if she were one of their own.
This is the woman who had the baby in the tree, and this is the baby in Mozambique.
Glad to see you.
The US donated more than $30 million for emergency flood aid in Mozambique. In addition, a special fund was set up for her, which garnered about 70,000 rand.
It's easier for them to give whatever they have a little to the baby Rosita for the welfare of that baby.
But the interest in Rosita's story appears to have diminished. Mozambique is no longer the darling of donor countries. It's now one of the fastest growing economies in the world, yet more than half of its people still live in poverty. Ruth says there's little hope for girls like Rosita, many of whom become child brides.
Estando no Chibuto, eu acredito que a esta altura, se calhar, a Rosita até já seria mãe. Mas cá no Maputo, ela tem muita informação, conversa com os colegas de escola, conversa muito conosco, sobretudo, eu tenho sido uma madrinha daquelas de mão de ferro para com ela, e fazendo-lhe ver que a vida não é assim tão fácil.
The next day, Ruth invites us over to her house.
The big day has finally arrived. We are on our way to meet Rosita. It's been 10 long years since I last saw her. As we drive through the streets of Maputo, I'm wondering how much she has changed, and will I still be able to recognize her?
Her godparents introduced me to Rosita, now a teenager, having just turned 15.
Não sei se lembras de mim.
Não.
Já faz bastante tempo, mano. Ótimo. Podemos sentar para conversar pouco?
Sim.
Por favor. Com licença.
Rosita says she was expecting us. Her mother Sofia had told her that we would visit.
Diz que vinham falar comigo sobre cerca das cheias.
Em que classe é que estás?
Vou fazer 10º estado.
Está a correr tudo bem?
Tá.
Quando é que chegaste aqui no Maputo?
Cheguei em dezembro de 2003.
She becomes emotional when we talk about the devastation caused by the floods.
Qual é a emoção que tens?
É, falar de cheias, como é que é?
Mas estás à vontade? Queres que a gente para um pouquinho?
At this point, we decide to stop the interview so as not to cause her more distress. We later film her preparing a dessert. Cooking is one of her favorite pastimes.
Quais são os ingredientes?
Açúcar, leite condensado, ovos, vanila, coco ralado.
Depois vai ao forno? É feito no forno ou vai para a geleira?
É feito no forno.
Quanto
Numa
tempo?
panela. Pões água quente na panela, depois mete forno aí dentro. Deixa uns 30 minutos.
Rosita says she's lucky to have a godparents who stepped in when the government was no longer prepared to help.
Quiseram me ajudar porque o governo já não estava a ajudar mais.
Rosita now has 2 years of schooling left before she must make a decision about what she wants to become.
Pensar em fazer engenharia petrolífica, mas também gostaria de ser uma enfermeira para ajudar, ou doutora para ajudar as pessoas.
As we eat lunch, Rosita's older brother Benedito joins us. He was 3 when their mother gave birth to Rosita 15 years ago. Though the hype around the story appears to have faded, the baby born in a tree can one day still become an advocate for a country and a people if she manages to complete her education. Rosita reads an extract from Mozambique's grade 4 science lesson.
Apareceram e os médicos ajudaram-na no trabalho de parto. Nasceu uma menina a quem deram o nome da Rosita. É isso mesmo, a Rosita nasceu em cima de uma árvore. As cheias destruíram muitas casas. A partir daí, o governo decidiu criar programas de prevenção e combate às calamidades naturais.